thanks everybody for being here, for being proactive homeowners, and you're making things happen and you're not waiting for things to happen. And again, my name's Brian Schwatka. I know a bunch of you out there. I can see your names, so good to see you again. Can't see you, but you can see me. But yes, so I've been a realtor and transition specialist for over 20 years, and I just solely help homeowners. 100% of my business comes from helping homeowners decide if they should stay in their home, age in place with in-home care services, or transition to a retirement community. And I know what you're thinking, and I get this all the time, but this is the life I've chosen. Is that you're probably thinking, wait, this is a realtor. Why would a realtor want me to stay in my home and age in place because he won't be able to sell my home? If you know me, that's not me. My purpose is solely to help you make the best decisions for your future, whether you're staying or whether you're going. So, and if you use a different realtor, that's fine. As long as I helped you and I educated you, then I'm happy. Okay. Then our goal, your goal, Erin's goal, I think everyone's goal as they age and as they think about making a transition is really just to reduce your stress. I know what you're going through. I've been walking in your shoes for over 20 years. Like I said, there's fears, uncertainties, and doubts, and there's just, you don't know what you don't know, and there's just so much to it. And it's a huge onion that you're just peeling off layer after layer. And so we do know that it's very stressful for you. And if you're working with Erin or myself or somebody that has done this for years and years, they're going to reduce your stress just because of the fact that they know what they're doing. This is all they do. And you need to also understand all of your options. There are tons of different options out there, and there's the internet, right? That confuses you, and you come up with 300,000 results from your search. And so you do need some trusted, I don't know, resources to help you understand those options, to give you that clarity and that confidence that you need to make a good decision. So we're just here to help you with these decisions. No expectations, no strings attached. And my secret recipe of reducing stress is to give you the education and to prepare you, sort of like a Cub Scout, right? You just need to be prepared. And as we age, I've found that we go through these three stages. Tell me if I'm wrong. And if we were in real life, I would be saying, hey, raise your hand if you're in this stage, raise your hand if you're in this stage. But the first stage that we go through is that sort of, should I stay? Should I go? I'm 50% on the fence. I've been thinking about it forever. I've got paralysis of analysis. I could stay in my home. I could age in place. My friends are moving away. My neighborhood has changed. Maybe I want a smaller single story home. Maybe I want to transition to a remodeled home. There's all sorts of uncertainty there. So what we do, and we did this in a webinar about 3 months ago, which was called Should I Stay or Should I Go? This is what you're seeing on the screen, the Stay or Go framework. And during that first webinar that you could get a recording of, during that first webinar, we went through, what is your vision? What is your ideal future look like? Your postcard from the future, your picture on the puzzle box. And then we talked about what your reality is, where you are today. Where do you stand in your home ownership? And like when you go to the mall, here you are here. Here's where you're going. Now, how do we get there? Okay. And then we also talked about your options, which were what your paths are, whether you're staying or going to a community. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And then we get you down to that 51% off the fence. That's the first stage, is just getting you to 51%. I'm not saying you have to stay. I'm not saying you have to go, but there's some research you have to do. And then the second stage, which is the next webinar we're going to do next month, that's the how does it all work, right? How does it work with selling your house and the buy-in and where do I stay and what do I do before I'm on the waiting list? What do I do once I'm on the waiting list? What do I do once I select my apartment? Oh my gosh. And what happens when I move in to the community? That's stage two, and that's the how it all works. And that's next month's webinar. After that, we'll finish off the year with, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm living at the community now. How do I sell my home? And this is the listing manual or the flight plan to tell you everything that's going to happen in selling your home between the time you sign a listing agreement and the time the funds hit your account at the end, everything that's going to happen. Now, Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wedge in a little webinar here. Here's our agenda for today. We're going to talk about just retirement communities in general. They've come a long way, and there are different types of retirement communities. I think there's 5 or 6 different types of retirement communities. There's 55 some odd retirement communities in Santa Clara County. Most of them are this one type, and a few of them are another type. So we'll show you that. We also need to talk about you transitioning from independent living to assisted living. How does that work? Who says that's when it's going to happen? What's your path down that? Then we'll talk about all of the amenities and the rebate models and the nuts and bolts of retirement communities. And then we'll talk about what really matters at the end of the day, and we'll do a little Q&A at the end. All right, so now I want to do something a little weird, a little maybe corny, okay? But I'm doing this for me. I need to sort of slow down. I need to chill out. And I don't think that we can think clearly with a bunch of mental noise going on in our heads. So if you would with me, just sort of sit back and drop your shoulders and just, you don't have to close your eyes or anything, but you came here with a lot of stuff going through your head, right? You've got kids and taxes and the house and your medical stuff and the car and these webinars. And do I have a password for the webinar? And are they looking at me on the webinar? And, if your brain is overwhelmed, it's hard to make good decisions, right? So I want to just slow it down a little bit and tell you, this is for me because I talk fast. And so, let's just take a deep breath and just imagine there's a box in front of you and all those things you came in here with. Just put them in the box, all that stuff. Put the box aside. It'll be there right when you're at 12:01. You can open the box and get right back into your life. But I want to talk about genies. This came to me the other day, and if I had a genie, my gosh, wouldn't life be wonderful if you could have those 3 wishes? So I thought to myself, what would those wishes be if I had a magic genie and we're in this mellow state? I think I would want the first wish would be I don't want to outlive my funds. I mean, is that everyone's ultimate goal in life is to not outlive your funds? And not only do I not want to outlive them, I want access to those funds. Some people are house rich and cash poor and they have no access to their funds. But that's my first wish. Jeannie, I would like to not outlive my funds. And the next one would be I don't want to burden my friends and my family and other people. And I want to be healthier and I want to have more joy and I want to have a growth mindset, right? I don't want to burden others and I want to live this wonderful life. And the third one is I want to be less isolated, which is it's a worldwide epidemic. I don't know if COVID did it or what happened, but there are so many isolated people out there, and that really affects your health physically and emotionally. And I want to be meeting new friends and having more activities and having more choices, right? So if I did have a genie, I would think these are the 3 things I want to focus on for the best chapter of my life, right? Now, if I had a couple more, if the genie was very, we got along well, I would not want to worry about my house. I would not want to worry about the maintenance or my safety. I would not want to rely on the in-home care industry. We're going to talk about a little bit about that in the future, and it's a great industry. It's very valuable. We love them, but at a certain point, it's not going to make any sense, and I don't want to put all of my eggs in that one basket. And then at the end of the day, I want to be 100% certain that I made the best decisions for my future. Okay. So I'm going to take a quick little step back. Remember, last webinar we talked about if are you going to stay or if you're going to go, you really only have a couple of choices. A lot of people say, "Oh, I've got tons of choices. The kids are going to come live with me and I'm going to go live with the kids and maybe I'll do these other things." Now, this is the wide easy road. This is the road that most people choose because, well, look, it's easy. I don't have a mortgage and everything's fine. And I finally got my house just the way I wanted it. And maybe I will go to the retirement community someday. But what I'm saying here is that it's easier now to take this road of staying in your home, but it might be harder when you get down the end of the road. And it's harder to switch roads once you've gone too far. Now, the other road is making this transition. The road is, it's not as wide, it's not as smooth. it's harder now. I've got to downsize, I've got to do all of these things, but further on down the road, things are going to get easier. And I'd rather put my efforts in now while I'm a little bit younger, while I have a little energy to do this, because it's not going to get any better as or easier as time goes by. And we have to keep these three things in mind. If I stay, will I not outlive my funds? Will I not burden other people? And will I not be isolated? If I go, will I outlive my funds, burden other people's, or be isolated? So for me, it's kind of obvious, but like again, I said in the beginning, I don't want you thinking, I want you to sell your house. I want you to go to a retirement community. In doing this for 20 some odd years, helping hundreds of people, there's not one person that ever said, gee, I made a really bad decision going to this retirement community, right? They're like loving life. And so now can we actually talk about retirement communities? I'm just telling you this whole stay or go thing, but let's talk about the retirement communities in general. They have come so far in the last 20 years. I remember watching 60 Minutes 30, 40 years ago, and it was a bunch of people in wheelchairs looking at the walls, and it is not that way anymore. It's like, I don't want to call them a retirement community. I want to call it an adventure community. These people are doing things. I don't know what they're putting in the water over there, but they're having the time of their life. And I used to say, oh, it's like living on a cruise ship on land until I talked to somebody on the phone one time and that person said, why the heck would I want to live on a cruise ship for the rest of my life? And I've never been on a cruise, so I'm sorry, I don't know. So why don't we call it an all-inclusive resort? I think everybody can get on board there. So it is a wonderful, wonderful place to spend the second half of your life. And there's a much younger demographic going to these places. It used to be they wouldn't go till 85 years old. Now they're going 65, 75 years old. I don't know why, but it's just a better life. It's a different life. We'll talk about all of the things that people loved about it. But I want you to know this isn't just, well, I'm going to go live somewhere else. This is a lifestyle focused approach rather than just, I'm going to live in this home or this home. These people are doing things, they're changing things, they're making things happen. And so I've always heard throughout all of the years that their biggest fears, I hear them all because I'm like a psychologist, right? I go in to talk to these people 2 to 3 years before they're even moving, and they didn't even know they were moving until they met me. And so I sort of dish it all up and show them the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then they change their minds. But I always hear all of these. I can't do this. I'm not going to like it. It's going to be like going to school. I'm not going to know anyone, right? And I don't know if I'm going to like the food. I don't know if my dog's going to like the food. I don't know if my dog's going to like the other dogs. I'm going to regret leaving my home, all of those memories. I've heard of them all. I totally get them. And the one thing that comes up the most that I always hear is it's going to make me feel old. Now, I don't think it's going to make you feel old. And I have firsthand knowledge. I'm 62. I'm right in the middle, right? And so I hear, well, it's going to make me feel old. I think this is a perception issue. I think it's a glass half full versus glass half empty. When I'm around younger people, I feel younger. When I'm around older people, I feel younger. It's all the way I look at it, right? And so I don't think it's going to make you feel older. It's all the way you see it. If you're at the all-inclusive resort and there's some older people, that's fine. You're going to be old someday and they'll be birds of a feather and you'll be flocking together. And the younger people, you can educate them and give them your wisdom and show them what you've done. And it's a good thing to be in a community where you're around like-minded people that were all afraid before they made this decision. And here they are, right? And here's what I hear after they've moved. Okay. I'm more social. My kids aren't bugging me or they're not worried about me. I don't have to maintain this dang house anymore. I didn't realize how lonely I was until I started living again. And the one I hear the most, I wish I had done this sooner. So I want to just let you guys know that I did create a video. I shot this video at Saratoga Retirement Community right in the front of the building. And I interviewed past clients who did not really want to go and they ended up going. And then I went over afterwards and I interviewed them and I asked them some questions. I shot this video. It's like a 6-minute video. You can find it at stayergohomeowner.com/puzzle. And I asked them these questions. What were your initial perceptions? How has your view changed? Why did you start thinking about it? What were you looking for in a community? What was the most difficult part? How were you pleasantly surprised? How has your life changed? What does your family think? And what would you tell somebody who's on the fence? So I really strongly suggest if you have 6 minutes, go look at that video. It'll change your mind, I think. So let's keep going. Let's just talk about this whole, the amenities, what you really get. And I know this might sound like a retirement community commercial, but we've got the hour. We're doing good on time, and you do need to know what's there. And now, not all of these communities are created equal, and they don't all have the same sort of amenities. But in general, the typical independent slash assisted living communities, they're focused on your health. They're focused on seniors. They're focused on covering all of your needs. You are the customer, and they are, uh, making this community for you, and they're setting themselves apart from the crowd. And so SRC and a lot of these communities are really focused on your health. So a day in the life, maybe you're getting breakfast or lunch or dinner. You're not making those things. You have a personal fitness education trainer coach. You're learning how to do yoga and taking classes. You're swimming. You're walking with walking groups. Your dog run people. Those people hang out together. They're also focused on your convenience, so they have scheduled transportation, they take you shopping. There's all sorts of laundry and housekeeping and resident business centers, and there's an IT guy there that can help you with your passwords and your computer and your iPad and things like that. They're focused on your social life. There's lots of clubs, there's lots of groups, there's committees, and they'll try and sign you up to be the president of a committee, or you can start your own committee. And there's lots of just activities there. People are having fun. In fact, on the wood shop, I sold a man's home that moved to Saratoga Retirement Community. He said, "What am I going to do with all my woodworking stuff?" He brought the woodworking stuff over to SRC, and now there's a woodworking shop over there. So they're open to you. It feels like the community is run by the residents, really, especially with the Oddfellows. They give you that freedom to make the place your own, right? And then last but not least is your safety and security, which you might not have in your home. So there, all of the maintenance is taken care of. You've got security there. You've got 24-hour emergency call system. You got to pull the little string and someone will come running. There's assisted living, skilled nursing, and memory care on site at SRC, but some communities don't have that, and we'll talk about that in coming up in the future. And then the best part about it is you've got that dedicated staff. Okay. The dedicated staff is there. They have longevity. They've been there for years. And there is no or not a big industry turnover, and there's not the isolation concern. So a lot of these things are not available in your home, and you're thinking, well, I'm just going to stay in my home. You might want to keep thinking, what is it? So I'm going to end with this really quick little story, okay? And this just happened like a couple of weeks ago. Remember, I told you that I moved my dad down here from Walnut Creek. He finally listened to me. I go to a retirement community. So he's kicking and screaming. He goes and he moves in a couple blocks from my house and he's at the retirement community. And now we get to do more things together. And so he's more active. And he came over the other night and I said, "So how's it going over there at the retirement community? You remember the one you didn't want to go to?" And he said, "Well, I tell you, I love it. I'm meeting all these people. I'm having good food. I don't even have anything in my refrigerator anymore." So he's having a wonderful time. And he said this, I'm not lying. He said, "I'm so happy here that when I die, when I pass away, I want to come back to the retirement community." I was like, "Can you please say this can I record you saying that?" It was wonderful for me to actually hear walk in these shoes. And I've helped hundreds of people and they've all come back and said that it was a wonderful transition. But for my dad to say it, I'm sold now. So I got to put my name on the waiting list. So all right, so I'm going to switch gears now, and we're not going to talk about all the wonderful things anymore. We're going to talk about the different types of communities. Now, the first type of community that you might run into is the 55 active adult type of retirement community. That's the villages. Um, in some cases, it's the forum because I think you need to be 62 to move into the forum, but it's an active adult living community where you're either renting or you're purchasing the home. Okay. It's an active lifestyle. You don't need a bunch of help. You're completely 100% independent. Now, you're going to you can purchase or rent a property, or you can go to an independent living retirement community where you're just paying a monthly fee and the meals are included. Where you, on the active independent, you're not going to get the meals, you're not going to get the housekeeping, you're not going to get the activities. You might get some activities, but there's this independent living type of situation. Those are usually tied together with assisted living. Now, we don't know if you're going to get that assistance in your home, in your unit, or from the staff that's there. But those are usually together. These communities, remember I told you about 55 communities in Santa Clara County? Probably 40, 45 of them are this type of situation. Independent living slash assisted living. They're normally together. They can normally help you as you start to need assistance. Now, there's memory care. And we'll talk a little bit about memory care, but these are separate from the independent and assisted living communities. Now, some communities have a memory care wing or division or part of the community, but not many. In fact, I only know one independent slash assisted living community that has skilled nursing on site. That's very important there. Now, these are all sort of separate, and you can decide if that's good or bad for you. But then there is the coup de grace, the holy grail of the continuing care retirement community or the life care community, where you have all four of these levels available to you on the same campus. Now, is that important to you? That's the first question I usually ask people. Do you want all four levels of care on campus? Because out of those 55 communities, there's only 8 that have the all 4 levels of care on campus. The other communities are month to month, and the continuing care retirement community is a more of an entrance fee or a buy-in. Okay. Now, you have to really decide what's really important to you. You have to really think about your priorities. So we've got this whole scheme of which retirement community am I going to pick? I feel it's the most important thing is to get your priorities straight. Boy, get your priorities straight. And so the one, like I said, the most important thing, do you really need all 4 levels of care on campus? Maybe you don't need skilled nursing. Maybe you don't need memory care, but you really need to think about this. This is a come to Jesus moment. Do you really want that? The next thing is, can you afford a buy-in, or maybe you need to do a month to month, which is fine. And there's a lot of beautiful communities out there that are month to month. In fact, I even know 2 continuing care retirement communities that are month to month. Not the caliber of an SRC or a TLG, but there are options out there for you. Is a short wait list really important to you? Because the larger, better, higher caliber communities, you're going to have a wait list of 3, 5, 7, sometimes 10 years. But if that short wait list is at the top of your priority list, then that's what you need to focus on. Okay. You don't want to go looking at 50 different communities and find out that only 2 of them were on the high numbers on your priority list. You want to call them and ask them and make sure that they are hitting on your top, let's say, 3 priorities. Does this community need to be within a certain radius of my church or my doctor or my kids or the shops or whatever you need? Another very important priority. Next thing is, do you want okay food or do you want great food? Okay, if that's high on your priority list, well, then go to these places and have some food and make sure that they're hitting on your top picks, right? Do you need that swimming pool? Do you need 2 bedrooms? Do you need a villa? Do you need secured parking? Do you have 2 cars? All of these things, and you might want to even take a picture of these things. These are should be you should put these in really empirically black and white, prioritize this list and make sure you're spending your time, money, and effort on communities that match at least your top 1 or 2% or 1 or 2 priorities. Okay. All right. So those are your priorities of thinking about all of these different types of retirement communities. I'm going to go and I'm going to first talk about those 55 independent living communities very briefly. I'm not going to stay too long on this, but if you're okay with this interim solution and you want to test out senior living, dip your toe in the water, I'm 55, 65, there's no waiting list because you're buying a home, right? It's an active listing. If you want to sell your home and buy another home, That's your prerogative if you're okay with that. But you are going to have a little more safety, a little more security. There's going to probably a gated community. Maybe it's a golf course community. And also there's another, pros and cons. You're going to gain maybe appreciation on that new home you just sold, right? But you have to be careful because some of the communities share your equity. When you do go to sell the home, they're going to take some of your equity. Now, if you're okay with all of that and you don't mind purchasing a new home, and keep in mind, you still may have those cash flow issues. You know how we were house rich, cash poor. If you're buying another property, then you're going to have all of those homeowner expenses that you currently have, all of your property taxes and your insurance and your utilities and HOA fees and things like that, and all of the maintenance. So this is an interim solution. This is maybe you want to get out of the 5 bedroom, 3 story, 4 car garage with a swimming pool in the backyard and you want to downsize and move on to your interim solution. Hey, I'm all for it if it makes sense to you or for you. But then again, there might be some resale kind of challenges because not everybody wants to buy in a 55, 65. So the buyer pool is going to be a little bit smaller. And keep in mind, like I said, there's no assisted living, there's no real services. You're going to have to rely on that in-home care type of thing. Now, we were talking about independent living. We need to switch over to when you're going to need assistance. Okay. When you need to transition between independent and assisted living, and what does that all look like, right? How do you know which path you're on? I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but your assisted living status depends on your ADLs, your activities of daily living. And if you need a lot of help or more and more, maybe I only need help with one of these now, and maybe I only need 2 or 3 of these. But once you get to a certain point, you're going to be deemed or classified or as assisted living. You need some assistance. And so you can do that yourself. The kids can help you with that, or the people that are at the retirement community, they know you, they see you on a regular basis, and they might suggest, hey, we've been, maybe it's time to go to assisted living. Maybe you're needing a little more of this assistance. Now, even if you're in your home, you might need a little assistance. And so the whole in-home care industry is there for you. It's also there for the retirement communities because the retirement communities use in-home care services as well to augment or offset their staff, right? But it's a very inconsistent basket for your eggs. It's not the basket you want to base your entire life on, is the in-home care industry. It's very overloaded. There's a lot of turnover, and there's no consistency because of that turnover. It's not on cruise control. So if they can't make it to your house, then your family's going to need to get back involved. And 50% of the time, this is a statistic, it's actually happening, that 50% of the time the clients are being turned away because there's not enough caregivers. You know who the caregivers are going to? They're going to the retirement communities because those retirement communities are the bigger fish. And so they're needing those services a lot. And so if you only needed a couple of hours a day, you might not get the attention you might need because a lot of those resources are going to these 55 different retirement communities out there in Santa Clara County. All right. So now that we're talking about independent living, you want to know a little bit more about independent living. And like I said, these communities are usually strapped together, independent and assisted in the same community, and you just kind of move around in that little community. Now, if you're okay with, and I think you would be, if you didn't need all 4 levels of care, there's definitely more communities to choose from out there. The wait lists are shorter and there are no entrance fees, right? It's a month-to-month situation. On the optimistic end of things, it's more flexible. You can move in, you can move out. You may not even need to sell your home. Maybe it's affordable enough where you could rent out your home and use the cash flow to pay for the community. Now, if you don't mind it being a rental situation where you could actually outlive your funds and you may need to make another move, and your friends and family still might be involved because they're going to be managing your in-home care at these companies. And if you don't mind that there is no skilled nursing and memory care on site, that's okay. So if you're okay with this, and then you might want to take pictures of this, is things you need to think about. Okay. And do I need that continuing care retirement community with all 4 levels of care? Now, If you were to need to go to a skilled nursing facility, let's say you picked one of these independent slash assisted living communities that didn't have skilled nursing on campus, there are SNFs, they're skilled nursing facilities, and those are licensed communities. They're for recovering people who maybe had an operation or they need some rehab. The costs are usually covered by Medicare, Medi-Cal, long-term insurance. So there are separate communities that focus just on this. There are also separate communities that just focus on memory care. And so they're out there. And, you just need to say, is it okay that I have to go to a different community to see my co spouse, my co person there, to see that they're getting that care? Now, what I want to tell you is that that person, that cognitively impaired person, needs consistency in their life. And moving in from independent living into assisted living, into maybe skilled nursing, and into memory care all at one community, they're going to get that consistency of the same caregivers, the same people, all of their friends are there. And somebody needs that consistency who's having the cognitive impairment, right? There's skilled people on campus at these memory support communities. Not just, oh, well, we've got this in home care person. He knows a little bit about memory care. We'll send him in, right? There's a lot of hidden costs because if you are going to stay in your home, you've got to upgrade your home. Ramps, bells, bars, whistles, all of the locking down stoves and all of those things. So there needs to be a higher level of security. And when you are there with your co-spouse, at the same community, you're both going to get help, right? You think, well, he only needs help or she only needs help. Well, no, the caregiver needs help too. The co-owner needs respite, and you're going to get that at the community. And the resident, the other cognitively impaired person, is going to get the consistency that they're looking for. All right. So now we're going to get into continuing care retirement communities. We're going to end with that and maybe a little bit of Q&A. We're doing really good on time. So this is Continuing Care Retirement Communities, or CCRCs, aka some people are calling them life plan communities. They're entrance fee models plus a month to month, and you get all the 4 levels of care on campus. So these communities want you to come in the healthy front door, the independent living front door. Now, when you do go in the front door, and you need to make a transition through that community, you will have first right of refusal, and you will then go into assisted living. And like we said, some communities will keep you in your independent living unit for a while. They'll give you some of the services that you would need as an assisted person, but then you're going to be needing to actually transition into assisted at the same community. And then if you needed memory care, it's right there for you on campus. If you needed skilled nursing, it's right there on campus. And the benefit of that is peace of mind, the continuity of care that you're going to get. It's all right there. It's a built-in path. And you're doing that path with all of these people that you now have long-term relationships with. And it's a much more predictable pricing model, right? Because your costs are going to go up as you move through the community, but they're much more predictable than in-home care or at a community that has independent and assisting, but they don't have this and they don't have that. Okay. So it's wonderful, but we don't want you to wait too long to enter the community, right? We wanted you to come in the front door. And if you wait a little too long and you come knocking on the assisted living side door and you say, I'm so sorry, we waited a little too long, and now we're not independent anymore and we need to come into the community, they're going to say, well, if no one else is going into assisted living, we might be able to accommodate you, but then your choices are going to be a lot less, and you might have to go to a community that you didn't or weren't planning on going to. Okay. So the next cool thing I want to talk about, it's the insurance policy, the peace of mind in some of these retirement communities, these continuing care retirement communities have what's called a benevolence fund. And the benevolence fund, I always thought, and I was mistaken, I always thought, well, I'm going to give you my $1 million to get in, and you're going to put that money into the benevolence fund. And so if I ever run out of money, I'll just come asking for my money that I gave you. That's not what a benevolence fund is. It's actually a charitable fund that helps the qualified residents that definitely financially qualified to get into the community remain in the community if they unexpectedly sort of outlive their funds by no means of their own. Okay. What a wonderful thing to have. What a wonderful peace of mind knowing that you will not be asked to leave if you can't pay the rent like the other 50 communities that are out there, right? And so that's another thing that you want to prioritize. Is this really important? Do I want a community that has a benevolence fund to have that insurance policy, right? And where does the money come from? It comes from the residents and their families. Maybe somebody didn't have kids and a family to pass their funds on to, and it's like a philanthropy kind of a thing. They're charitable donations, they're gifts, they do community fundraising, and that just gives you that peace of mind and that safety net to allow you to sleep well at night. So, out of the 55 communities in Santa Clara County, only 5 of them have a benevolence fund. So, if that's really important to you, you know which 5 to go to. So, what really matters is that peace of mind. And remember, like we said at the beginning of this webinar, you want to reduce your stress. We want to reduce your stress. We all want a more stress-free life. We want to understand all of our options. We want to gain clarity and confidence all the way back to the beginning. Get 51% off the fence. Start doing your research. Start going down the path. Start prioritizing everything and then looking for these communities so that you can make the best decisions for your future. So I wanted to just put a little something out there. There's nothing else out there like this. I've searched all over the internet. I had ChatGPT search the world to see if there's anything else out there like this. There isn't. It's called the Stay or Go planning system. And and the only reason I'm plugging this is the fact that there's nothing else out there like it. So there is, I wrote this. It's the Stay or Go workbook. You can print this online for free. I don't ask for anything. I don't call you and say, hey, I saw that you downloaded the workbook. Can I help you in any way? It's just free to you. And it goes through some exercises. It goes through the postcard from the future, right? It goes through your current homeowner evaluation. It goes through what you're looking for in a community and helps you actually prioritize to find out what is your first, second, third, fourth most important priorities. Okay. That's all available in the workbook. But if you want to go a little even further than that, and you want to go through the whole framework, what you're going to do is you're going to want to go to the Stay or Go questionnaire. That's stayergo.com/plan. And what this does, in addition to the workbook, is we get into how much your home is worth in this crazy market, how much will you walk away with after you pay your capital gains taxes, because the communities are going to want to know not that your home is worth $4 million, but how much you're walking away with to get financially qualified. And then we will actually do a financial analysis for you. We're not CPAs, it's not perfect. But if you tell us a little bit about yourself, then we can tell you, based on which communities you're looking for, when you will outlive your funds. And so this is huge and important because a lot of financial planners only tell you, here's how here's how to retire. They don't say, here's how you live the rest of your life at a retirement community and think worst case scenario, what could happen. Once you have this plan, once you give us enough information, then we'll give you back, it's free, we don't charge for any of this, a clarity report. It's a personalized summary of what you told us in that questionnaire, and you'll receive, what was your vision? What was your current situation? What are your priorities? It's all spelled out in this report, and then you can share the report with the kids. Hey, I this crazy guy with the blue shirt with no hair, he asked me a bunch of questions. He gave me this sanity report, and it says that I can go to X, Y, and Z community and not outlive my funds. We should talk to him, or we should talk to a financial planner, or we should talk to the sales director. We need to start doing some homework. You can't just put your name on the list and wait and hope for the best. We've got some things we could be doing in the next 2 years, right? So start seeking counsel from people. Start meeting with Erin and myself and financial planners and the kids. That's why the report is good, because you can then say, you know what, I don't remember what I put in that damn questionnaire. Here it is, and you just, here's my life. Here's what I'm looking for, right? So I just encourage you to take that first step and let's start getting some things done. Now, if you go into these retirement communities, you're going to want to ask them some questions and you might not know the questions to ask. It looks nice, seems like nice people, but what you really want to do is, hey, all right, let's get down to brass tacks. How many and which levels of care are on campus here? And remember, we did our priorities. If that's really important to you, you need to know this. You also need to know, hey, what happens when two residents have different health care needs? What happens at that point? Do we split apart? Do we stay together? Those are questions like that you need to find the answers out to. What is the Wizard of Oz back there? What are they really saying about this, right? And how does my health insurance actually blend in with the community? Does long-term care insurance matter? Do Medicare, Medicaid? How are the meals provided? Is there a meal plan? Tell me about this. Do I get breakfast? Do I get one meal? What are the entrance fees? Is it a month-to-month basis? Is there a buy-in fee? Let's talk about this. Open up the kimono. How does this whole waiting list thing work? So there's the questions to ask the retirement communities. You know, grill them, and grill that realtor too, right? Nothing is off limits. All right, so let's just talk. We're ending up here. Talk about timing. We've got about 5 minutes left. Timing is everything. You want to make these decisions and these transitions before you urgently need to. Okay, so when do you want to decide? Before things change. Okay, and a lot of things can change. The price of your home, the market, interest rates, economic conditions. Maybe there's consumer confidence issues. Your health might be changing. There might not be availability at the community. There's a lot of things that can change, and we want to do things before things change, especially your health. And you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them and when to walk away and when to run. And I don't want you to be a gambler gambling on all of these things. Let's be proactive, right? Let's do it sooner than later. We don't want people doing things for us on our behalf. We want a planned life, not an unplanned life. We want a less stressful life. We don't want to wait for things to happen. If we do it later, you're going to be more stressed. You're going to be more rushed. Things are going to happen. Mistakes are going to happen. There might not be availability at the community. Just please don't wait too long. If you want to talk about your capital gains taxes or retirement communities or what you should do to your home and what you don't need to do to your home, and should you rent your house for cash flow or sell it for cash out? And also, do you want to occupy your home while it's on the market or do you want to vacate it? There's so many things we can talk about. You can go to stayorgohomeowner.com. There's a big button at the top, schedule an appointment. You can put the appointment right on my calendar. We can talk on the phone or on a Zoom call at a Starbucks, at your house, at my office, for as long as you want. I'm here for you. Thanks, everybody. See you next month.